This is DS Yaksar. This is another edition of The Spectre, and this is sort of, I did a video about this before, actually, about WHLM and one of its staff members, radio personalities being, well, he resigned because he made a drone video of the Charlottesville demonstration. It was an aerial shot of the tiki torch wielding Nazis. And he tweeted, "The alt-right will sleep tight tonight." And he took that tweet down really quickly. And so he's, all these months later, he resigned from his job, and actually he worked for his parents because his dad is the general manager of the radio station, and I think his mom, I don't know, basically it's kind of family run, and even though the radio station is owned by, I think, Columbia Broadcasting, it's owned by a bigger conglomerate, they actually don't own it. Few radio stations are independently owned in such a way anymore. So he resigned because the radio station businesses, well, their advertiser, the people they did advertising for, were boycotting it. Businesses, all of the local, the college and the high school pulled all their sporting events. They didn't want them covering their sporting events anymore. Basketball, football, all that shit. And that's our radio station's bread and butter, pretty much. So, for advertising dollars, revenue, that's where they get most of their coverage. So, anyway, so he made this drone, he put it up with really no context. And WHLM, I mean, it goes without saying that it's a conservative leaning station. It's not really a political talk, radio, solely, but most of the people that work there are sort of right leaning. And this Dave Reilly, he's younger conservative guy. He's sort of a typical younger conservative guy in that he's a fucking bonehead. And he might have been able to salvage his job had he explained and put into the proper context the video he made, that he was an observer there and all of that. Had he done that properly, instead of resigning and sort of going into hiding, kind of, or just sort of, and he didn't do that. And when he put the fucking video up in the first place, he should have done that if he knew any better, and he didn't. So now he's all these months later, he's playing the victim card. He left Bloomsburg and he moved out to Kansas. He said he had a hard time finding a job around here, even a McDonald's type job. It's like, did he apply at McDonald's? And I guess, a McDonald's. It says something, I have the article here, something like that. But they ruined his life. All these people ruined his life. All these TV reporters, the staged protest, which it wasn't a staged protest. People showed up because of the violence that erupted in Charlottesville. The whole country was mad. There were protests everywhere. They're not staged. Who staged this protest? Okay, that's. Do you have any evidence that there was that any organization or any group of people staged the protests? Called people up on the phone, auditioned protesters so they looked real and authentic. I guess that's kind of what he's thinking here. And he has this like Dave Reilly Media website up that is basically all it is it's about the lawsuit that he's everything and all the damages he's suing for. And he has like another video he put up on YouTube. He only has 2 videos on YouTube. For someone who supposedly has a media company called Dave Reilly Media, you have 2 videos up. And the second video doesn't help him. The second video is, just go to YouTube, go to Dave Reilly Media, you'll find it. The second video is footage of the protest in front of the radio station and some of the news, the TV news reporters reporting on it, and it has Donald Trump dubbed over it, talking about fake news and everything else. The whole time, of all things, he's trying to somehow make his case, and he does it by making the protesters, putting them as altered footage where it's using some cheesy effects and shit, and all of that, and the reporters and all of that, with that whole montage cut together, and then playing the voice of our very racist president talking about fake news and doing the same thing that he's doing, blaming the media and everyone else for his fuck up. He basically shot himself in the foot, and now he's like, oh, he has to blame everybody else because he lost his job, even though he clearly, and I'm just saying, he's either very stupid or he's a little too cozy with white supremacists. That's the only thing I can think of. Because if I took like a video of like a Klan rally and a cross burning, and then like put that video up and sort of had kind of a open-ended statement about the Klan, just kind of like, wow, some Klan rally, like what, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't do that. If I did that, I could lose my job, especially if I was like, had a job in the media where I was in the public eye, and it would hurt the organization that I'm working for and make them look bad. Because he gave WHLM a black eye big time with this, and the radio station and him and the radio station, that is, blame the community and blame people in the community and blame TV reporters and blame protesters for reacting to it and smearing him when he did a pretty good job of it himself. And he's continuing to do it with this latest video. He's making himself look exponentially worse. It's like you don't infuse Trump with your video that is supposed to defend your position, okay? And you're trying to somehow convince people that you're not a racist and you're not for the alt-right. When that happened, Donald Trump didn't even say Nazis were bad. Okay? That's where you fucked up, dude. And it was just stupid. He just handled it very poorly. He didn't apply any common sense whatsoever in handling sort of a delicate situation. And I don't think the thing of it is, I don't think there was ever a lot of sympathy for him, considering he was just a young man who had a job at a radio station because his folks ran it. So, because nobody likes nepotism, because it's like fucking everywhere. And, it's even in the White House, for fuck's sakes. So, you've pretty much, with the second video on his YouTube channel, he's sunk himself to such depths now that he'll never, if he ever wanted to come back here or maybe resume his position at WHLM, that'll never happen now because of that. He's not aware of the fact that he's in a college town, where there's, people who attend Bloomsburg University are people of all stripes, all races, gay, transgender, all those sorts of people, and there's no empathy from them. They're not going to come to your defense, and most of the people in the community aren't going to come to your defense because of the way you're going about it. You're suing the community. You never explained yourself. at all. You didn't necessarily need to apologize for it, but early on you should have just clearly made a public statement about it versus letting your dad sort of defend you after you resigned, which is what happened. His dad was just talking about his son like a dad would, and everything about all the great things he did at the radio station and all that. But this lawsuit it's a frivolous lawsuit. These people were, David Reilly basically has seemingly no empathy for people who aren't white, and I think for a large part he just seems to come off as that very daft honky who thinks, his dad had expressed some of his views, which hurt him too. Talking about he thought he didn't want other people from other countries coming here, saying that they should stay in their own countries and fix their own problems, which isn't necessarily an entirely bad idea. But it's just just by saying you don't want people from other countries coming here doesn't really help you. Nothing he says helps him. It's it goes back to that thing. It's just some of these people who are very right-wing are they're just not self-aware. They don't realize the world they're living in, and they say things that hurt them when they're trying to interact with the rest of the world and have a discourse about these issues. They're terrible at it. The only people they can talk to are other angry white people. It's the same thing with, he's someone who just listens to Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck all the time, and then he goes out in the world and interacts with people that way. And he's outside of his bubble now because all these months now, because he doesn't have his job where he can talk to his dad, he can talk to some of his coworkers who think the same way he does. And that's why probably nobody in the area maybe didn't want to hire him so much. And he couldn't get a McDonald's type job. It's I'm just a disgraced local radio personality. Can I work the drive-through? No, they don't want you to. Who the fuck they would hate your guts if you worked at McDonald's. They know you're somebody who just came from a cushy job at a radio station. And I know it's a cushy job because I worked at a radio station. It's a very cushy job. I interned at a television news bureau, and they act like their job is so hard. They're fucking reporters. They all have cushy jobs, and they're all fucking backstabbers. That's all I learned about broadcast during my brief stint in it. But yeah, he screwed himself over big time, and I have really no sympathy for him all. I don't. He is it's just he's just playing the victim card now because it's the only card he has left, and he can't just let it go. It's you fucked up, learn from it, and move on. That's all you can do. But suing everybody in town, suing some TV reporters and just some locals that had an opinion about you because of what you put out there, that you can't. Sorry. Good luck with it all, but I highly doubt that's going to pan out for you. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. If you are familiar with this case, just comment below. My name's D.S. Yoxheimer. This has been another edition of The Spectre. If you like my channel, please subscribe.